We're 80 plus years away from the Holocaust. We're also seeing this extraordinary rise of anti-Semitism at the same time. More and more young people know less and less. Because we also are moving further away, we're losing more survivors. As a world-class museum, we had to find a way to be able to merge the technology with storytelling that would allow them to be able to be with our survivors for generations to come.
Virtual reality films are the next best thing to meeting a survivor in real life because you get to walk alongside the canals with them, you get to visit their childhood home with them. It's quite powerful.
We need people to understand the stories and use them as a foundation to go forward and be upstanders and say, we need to keep their stories alive.
Over the years, we discovered how powerfully and how quickly VR can allow someone to understand the experience of another person.
The magic of VR is that it brings you into the very personal space. We're able to take cameras out to Paris and Normandy and Amsterdam and revisit the places that are important to these stories.
I think by it being a VR experience, viewers get a much more personal understanding of the story. For me, when I watch them, I think what I would do in this situation.
VR puts an audience member in someone else's shoes. And when it comes to survivors, well, they have just some of the most remarkable stories there are to be told.
The story of Walk to Westerbork is all about Rhody Glass and her family and their extraordinary escape from the Holocaust.
I was taken to Westerbork, which is right here where we're standing, at the age of 6. I was in camps from 1942 to 1945.
It's also the story of the Dutch Jews, which is really an untold story. 75% of Dutch Jews were killed during the Holocaust.
The world should know that the Holocaust did not only happen in Eastern Europe, but also in Western Europe.
On the shoot, we're doing a lot of moving shots, so we're using tracks as well as a Mantis rover to move the camera. And that throws up quite a lot of things we need to be aware of when we're shooting, as in like proximities to people and various kind of parts of the environment. Throughout the film, we're also going to be looking to composite various archive images and video onto parts of the real-world environment.
We use CGI real-time animation. With real-time animation, it's where we use game engines to create a three-dimensional environment that you can actually move around in.
And we were walking in the mud and the rain, and the Germans trained their guns on us, of course. It was the three of us, my mom, dad, and I.
For our characters, we used this technique that was actually inspired by an artist called William Kentridge. And he uses stop-motion animation with charcoal. And what the amazing team did was create this same effect inside our characters. I really want the audience to watch this film, learn about what happened to the Dutch Jews. Alongside that, I'd love them to just take away the incredible spirit of Rhody herself. She is not just somebody who survived by hanging on by her fingernails at all. She's absolutely lived her life to the full and loved every minute of it.
Letters from Drancy is the story of Marion Deichmann, and really, at the center of that story is the relationship between her and her mother, Alice.
This is the place where I last saw my mother before she was taken away. Her presence is felt every day. This was a big motivation. I do it for my mother, of course. Hopefully, people see it, think about not only her, but the 6 million Jews that died during World War II.
They tell a different type of Holocaust survivor experience than people are used to hearing. Marion herself was never in a camp, and yet she is very much a survivor. It is just such an amazing opportunity to be able to tell her story in this way and to share it with the world.
It's about creating environments that feel cinematic, that feel like they have emotion to them. We open Letters from Drancy with a scene that is based on one of Marion's recurring nightmares.
Visually, I wanted to take the viewers into a new space that they couldn't be in apart from in this VR experience. We're working with a set designer and our camera team to kind of build this mirror sort of prism.
The idea is that we have a German soldier and he's in slow motion. He's heading towards camera and it's sort of quite menacing as he comes towards you.
There's one particular scene in Letters from Drancy that we always knew that we were going to use a particular animation style for. This whole sequence is told from her recollections as a child, and so I really wanted that to feel like quite an abstract animation, and that's really to represent the fact that this is an 80-year-old memory, it's a child's memory, with the use of motion capture for the animation as well. It brings a cinematic and ethereal quality.
I had a horrible feeling of guilt. Why her and not me?
Escape to Shanghai tells the story of Doris Vogel, who was one of 20,000 German and Austrian Jews who fled the Holocaust for Shanghai at a time when the rest of the world had closed its doors.
I remember what seemed like thousands of people coming off the ships together.
I wanted to explore the idea of home and what home means. Is it where our family is? Is it where we feel most welcome? Is it where we feel most free from persecution?
It had 3 beds for the 5 of us, table in the middle, place to hang your clothes, no flush toilet, no running water.
The production took us to Berlin. Our opening shot is in this incredible Holocaust memorial that's in the center of Berlin. And that was really a sort of visual metaphor for the fact that, you know, the Jews of Berlin and of Germany felt trapped.
This trip, especially standing in front of the house that we lived in, it is surreal for me to even think that I was born here and that all these many, many years later, I am returning as an old lady. It's a funny feeling.
I think that when you're in what must have been one of the most dramatic, traumatic moments in somebody's life, as humans, we can't help but empathize with that and the uncertainty and fear that must create. So I think that the power of VR to do that stretches way beyond what we can actually do with conventional film, for example.
When people think of the Holocaust, the shorthand is Auschwitz. These stories show that there's more to the Holocaust than just Auschwitz. There's more to the Holocaust than just concentration camps. Even though people weren't in camps, it doesn't mean they didn't suffer. It doesn't mean that they're not survivors.
First and foremost, The audiences will meet 3 remarkable women. They will learn about their tenacity, their courage, their bravery.
The ability for this VR concept to expand the exposure to this important subject is vastly enhanced by this technology.
In some ways that the technology fades away and that really the story is what becomes center.
The goal is to show how everyday individuals during the Holocaust and throughout atrocities that happened since then have found their voice, their agency, and in small ways and in large have made an impact. And by telling those stories, we're hoping to inspire new generations and new audiences to take a stand for humanity.